Hi, and welcome to Alcohol Cats. This time we'll be talking about how to get you and your cat safely to the VET. I know a lot of cats don't particularly like going to the veterinarian, which is, pretty reasonable considering that they don't really, get out much. But the trip to the vet can be a lot less scary if your cat is good about getting in and out of the carrier. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today, getting that cat into that carrier so it can get poked with needles. Fun! Nobody likes going to the veterinarian, especially not your cats. So the first thing to do is to make sure that everybody's feeling nice and relaxed. So the main thing is that, if you think about it, what do you really use a carrier for with a cat? Not a whole lot. You pack it up, take it someplace scary, cat gets thermometer up its butt, comes back, carrier goes away. So, pretty quickly the cat's going to associate that carrier with some pretty awful things. So it's up to us to kind of reassociate the carrier with something better, like food and play and kind of a nice little hut to go in. So I have here my cat's basic carrier. A lot of the times it's just kind of all folded up, shove it in my closet, lays there collecting dust, and then before you know it, it's time to go to the vet again. So, I take it out, and reasonably so, the cats are a little, I don't think I want to go in there. I remember last time I went in there, it wasn't that great. So, what we're going to do today is kind of make the carrier a little bit more fun. You want to go in? I don't think it does. Let's get started. So now one of the things you can do is that a few days before you have to pack up your cat, very nonchalantly just dump your carrier somewhere in the middle of the room, near your cat's food bowl. Doesn't really matter. Somewhere where it's not a big deal. Preferably somewhere, in a fairly highly trafficked area. Don't just shove it off into some dusty corner where, you and your cat are not going to know it's there. Trip over it if you have to. Doesn't matter. Get your carrier out, have it lying around and doing absolutely nothing. Carrier that does nothing is not a very scary thing. So now that we have our carrier out, I'm going to show you a few things that you can do with the carrier and your cats to kind of, make it a little bit more fun. Let's give it a try. Now, if you just have the carrier kind of lying around and it's not really a big deal, you'll start to find that the cats will do things like this. They'll just kind of lie on it. Maybe take a nap. Now, depending upon what your cat's like, feel free to make your carrier as interesting as you'd like by, sprinkling some catnip on it. Catnip's fun. Get your cats kind of just exploring the carrier. It's no big deal. If your cat is really anti-carrier, you may have a much more difficult time getting that part done. But that just means you should probably start with your carrier out maybe a few weeks before you have to go to the vet. Try to plan ahead. See also if you can get the carrier to be kind of a playground. Play with your cat's favorite toy around the carrier. Warlow's favorite toy is a one-eyed, one-armed lobster on a string from a different toy. I don't ask questions. You'll notice that the carrier isn't even put together the whole way. It's just kind of out there. I put one side up, the other side's kind of hanging out. Doesn't matter. They're just kind of figuring out that this thing's not a huge deal. But what you can do is, start to set it up more as you would when you're going to the vet as the days go by. So we've got the carrier up. Smirnoff's even thinking of going inside of it. So you can see that these cats don't even really think of the carrier as a carrier. It's just kind of a fun object that they can wrestle near. And it's fun. The other thing you can do, especially for a little bit more reluctant cat, is to toss some treats inside the carrier, or even feed the cat, its meals in the carrier, or, as far in the carrier as the cat will go. So here we have some dry kibble, which, as I've explained, my cats really, really like for some reason. So I'm just going to take a little bit of dry kibble, show it to the cats, just kind of toss it in there. They go inside, they get some food. Suddenly being in a carrier is not really that big of a deal. You can even try just kind of gently pushing them so that they're all the way in, and practicing closing it up. Voila, cat in a carrier. Now, of course, Bacardi is not going to the vet right now, so, not going to make it that big of a deal. He gets some treats. It closes for a minute, open it back up, he gets to come out. Yay, coming out of the carrier. Not that scary. Or he might just stay in here eating food, I don't really know. You want to get in there too? Yeah, I don't think they'll all fit. So you may find by now the cat doesn't really think much of it and will go in with some treats, or your cat may suddenly become suspicious and be like, I feel like something's different about this time. Cats aren't stupid, unfortunately. So instead, try, shoving some food in there, giving a good play session before you go to the vet. And then when it's time to go, just kind of load them up. Kitty. Now here's the other important thing. When you get back from the vet, your cat's probably not going to be as pleased about the carrier as it was previously. So when he does come back, I would still leave the carrier out, for a few more days before putting it away. That way your cat doesn't kind of remember as well the association between going in the carrier and going to the vet. It'll, revert back to being that object that's just kind of lying around in the middle of the room, which is what we want. Now, if at some point you kind of have to, give up a little and actually get your cat in the carrier, well, it's not necessarily going to be easy, but it doesn't have to be that hard either. With Warlow, I'm holding on to him. If he starts to put up a resistance, which he very well might, sometimes it helps if you just kind of hold on to their front legs. That way they can't squirm quite as much. That way you can kind of get them in, and then as they're mostly in the carrier, you can kind of just gently push their butt in and then put that carrier back up. That's it. Now Warlow's pretty easy, but I can try again with someone a little bit harder just to kind of show you. So again, you have your carrier, you've got him, get a hold of his front legs, and then push his butt in. That way he doesn't have as much control and he's pretty much forced to go in the carrier. Now, of course, you don't want to force the cat into the carrier if you don't have to, which is why we're doing the whole, leave the carrier out, associate it with food and playtime. But ultimately, if it comes down to it, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? You gotta get your cat to the vet. You can come out now. Or he could stay in there, that's fine too. Not that bad. Alright, now I'm going to show you using Smirnoff because he's the naughtiest one of all of them. Yeah, he doesn't like going in the carrier. So I'll show you on him. I might need more tequila. He didn't like it, but he did it. What's up? Come on. And now, of course, he won't come out. Because why would he? So remember, folks, make sure you take your cat to the vet at least once a year for a general checkup and vaccinations. And, good luck. And here we see Bacardi in the wild. He's kind of relaxing on the carrier. He's using it kind of as a bed. Not quite sure why.